This is where we're going to learn the two different ways you can do it. And like always, there's an easy way and there's a harder way, right? That's pretty much how things go. There's a more accurate way and there's the smooth way, kind of like weighted average, right? And then when we get to chapter 9, it's going to be straight line. But there's always one way. So we got percentage of sales and we got aging of accounts receivable. All right, two different ways to come up with that bad debt. So the things that you've learned so far have to deal with the journal entries. Now we got to come up with how did we find out what that journal entry amount is. So percentage of sales is just what it sounds like. You're going to come up with a percentage and multiply it by net sales. Now sometimes it doesn't say net sales, sometimes it doesn't say credit sales. So if it actually, you multiply by the amount of the sales on credit. If it doesn't say specifically credit, you multiply by sales. All right? So it's going to say something like 1/4% of sales. And you do that multiplication. That's how easy that is. Right? This is called the balance sheet approach.
How do we get the 1/4?
You'll give it. You'll be given it. All right? The balance sheet approach is percentage of sales. When you get this number, can't spell, bad debt expense. When you get this number, it goes directly into the journal entry as bad debt expense. It is bad debt expense. So when you calculate percentage of sales, it is the bad debt expense number. So it is the simple method. It's easy. In the book, you're given a number. The hardest part about this is making sure you convert a percentage into a decimal. Honestly, you guys sometimes forget to put the zero in the right place. Right. The aging of accounts receivable is harder to do, but it's a lot more accurate. It is the income statement approach. It is the one that I will tell you to use a T account. Right? The number that you get here is going to go into bad debt, but you have to calculate to get it. All right? So it looks something like this. You're going to get 0 to 30 days, 31 to 60 days, 61 to 90 days, and then over. And you're going to have numbers in each of those. $2,000, let's go higher than that. $10,000, $4,000, $2,000, $1,000. You're going to have dollar amounts in each of those categories. For a company, they're going to total up how much is owed to them in each of those categories. 0 to 30 days, 31 to 60 days, 61 to 90, and anything over that. And then they're going to figure out what percentage is going to be uncollectible based on history. And then you have to multiply that out and total it. No. On all these percentages, you'd be given them. Now, how do you think that you come up with these percentages, whether it's aging of accounts receivable or percentage of sales? How do you think a company comes up with them?
Averaging?
No. What'd you say? Period of time. You're going to look at past history, right? You're going to look and see, what did I not collect last year? What have I not been collecting? Especially percentage of sales. You're going to look at historical data. You're going to look at what have I not been collecting in my last 30 days, my 31 to 60, 61 to 90. If you're a brand new company, you're going to look at other companies just like yours. All right, you're going to total this, and then this is where, let me go on the other side. This is where you're going to come up with your T account. This is your allowance for doubtful accounts. All right. In your allowance for doubtful accounts, the very top number is your unadjusted balance, which you will be given. You're always given in the problem an unadjusted balance. This number that you just figured out, this total, goes on the bottom of your T account. You got to figure out this number right there, and that is your bad debt expense. So the aging of accounts receivable, when you figure out that total, that is your ending allowance for doubtful accounts. That is the balance sheet number that you want it to be. Yes.
Is it the total of all those?
All those together. Yep.
Okay.
Yep. And we'll work a problem. But that is a total of all your aging of accounts receivable months. That number goes on the bottom, that goes in the balance sheet. So that might be 15,000, that might be, the Vanity Fair example right there was 120,000, right? That might be a big number. What you're trying to figure out then is what is the difference between it, and that's the number that goes on the balance sheet. So let's go ahead and take a look now that I told you that. And you can keep writing if you're writing. All right, so percentage of sales method is based on historical data. So their credit sales, if you remember correctly, this month was 120,000. Their bad debt rate was 0.75%. So if you convert that to a decimal, it's 0.0075. That's what I meant by making sure you use your zeros right, because that has been in the homework problem and people have done 0.075. Right. So when you multiply that out, you get 900. And then look at it as a percent. It's 3/4 of 1%. People have also just said 3/4 of 1% and done 0.75. So you just have to make sure you convert your percentages correctly. I don't tend to give you 3/4 of 1% on a test. All right, I tend to give you something more normal. But credit sales totaled 120. You got your 900, which we talked about. There's your journal entry. So percentage of sales should be very straightforward. You calculate it, and you put it directly into the journal entry. All right, any questions on percentage of sales? And that is the easy one. I can honestly tell you in the audits that I did and when I was working at AT&T, I've never seen a company use percentage of sales. I've only seen them use aging of accounts receivable because it's the most accurate one to see where you're at. So let's take a look at an aging of accounts receivable. All right, so this is the income statement approach, and this is going to put allowance for doubtful accounts. Why did I get those two? I got these two backwards when I wrote them on the board, too, that way. Because this is bad debt expense, and this is, I'm telling you, I'm off it. I even sat there telling you it's going to go directly onto the balance sheet, but I wrote it wrong on the board. All right. The aging method gets its name because it's for a period of time. We're looking at the accounts receivable for a period of time. The older it gets, the less likely it is to collect. Now, the reason this is why it goes on the balance sheet is because we are looking at the entire accounts receivable. The percentage of sales is only looking at that month's sales. So when you go out there and say, what is our net sales, you're looking at sales for just October. And then you're getting the bad debt just for October. When you're looking at aging of accounts receivable, you're looking at all the accounts receivable that's out there. Whether it's in the next 30 days you're going to collect it or some that's been due for the last 160 days. Though most people sell it by then. But all right, so we're looking at everything. All right, so look at it. Applies the aging of accounts receivable in 3 steps. You do the aging, then you estimate it, and then you compute the steps. So this is what they have. So they have 3 companies listed, and then they combine the rest into one called Other. So look at the first one, Adam Sports. They have $700 that they owe us. 430 days, 231 to 60, and 161 to 90. First, what does that tell you about that company? Are they a good company? Is that a company we're not going to sell to anymore? Or are they doing okay, but we want to kind of make sure we get the money coming in? They're probably okay because we just sold them $400. So there's probably something out there why that 61 to 90 is lingering. And the reason you think that is because we just sold them $400. So there must be something out there. All right, what about Momentum Close? We're not selling them anything. All right, it's over 90 days. All right, let's go down to Zoom Athletics. Are they in good standing? Yeah. All right, 4,000 and 2,000. Yeah, we're going to keep an eye on them. Now, what's recently come out, and I told you guys this with the 210 net 30. Remember I told you it's recently changed to 260 net 45, because most companies are not paying anymore within 30 days. So that kind of goes along with days unpaid. So it's kind of getting stretched out a little bit. So, and then look at the rest of it. Others is $200,000, of which over half of it is 0 to 30. And then when you add the 42,000, they're well over 75% of it is within 60 days. That's not bad, one would think. All right, so let's put some percentages with it. They give you the percentages. You total up at everything in that column. All right, so 0 to 30 days is 1%. Days unpaid is 10%, for 31 is 10%. Then we go to 20, and then we go to 40. And you kind of see, especially in the examples you're going to get, you kind of see that progression of jump in percentages. It kind of doubles. Now we're going to multiply it. So we get the 1,200, 4,500, 7,400, and then 2,400. And we're going to add that all up. Where does that 15,500 go? What did I tell you about that? Goes over here. Where? Yeah, where at? Where does it go on the allowance for doubtful account? Well, we wouldn't debit it. It is the total. Where does that total go on my T account? At the very bottom. That's what I wanted. I wanted the bottom because we're going to be given this number. This number here is the beginning balance. Okay, we don't have it. This number is the 15,500. We got a plug to get this number. This number is bad debt expense. That will go up there. All right. All right, the unadjusted balance was 14,200. We want it to be 15,500. So our difference would be 1,300. Sorry, second guessing myself.
Wait.
Isn't it?
Yeah.
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 Okay. All right. So the 14,200 is what's already in the allowance for doubtful accounts, but we just looked at all of the aging of accounts receivable and realized it really should be 15,500. So we're going to make a journal entry now for $1,300. Right? Not for 15,500, which you guys like to do, but for 1,300. So then we come to prepare the journal entry, and then there's the journal entry. Yes, sir.
I wasn't paying attention. What was AJE?
What?
Yeah, I was trying. Adjusted expense.
This right here, adjusted journal entry.
Okay.
So the adjusted journal entry for bad debt expense is going to be the $1,300. Does it make sense? A little bit? All right. And then do we revise them? Yes. You revise this whenever you have significant sales that are going to have an impact on your bad debt expense. Right? Whenever you're going to have. So whenever you think that it's going to make a difference. All right. We already talked about recoveries, so we don't need to worry about that. That's when journal entries are written off. And that's the journal entry right there. As well as there. All right, let's do some more problems. Make sure you guys get this in your